My parents want me to give up my home office for 6 months so my sister can have a bridal preparation room. I'm a dental surgeon who rebuilt my life in that space. I don't even know where to start with this. I've been lurking on Reddit for years, never thought I'd be the one posting something like this, but I can't talk to my friends about it because they don't understand, and I definitely can't talk to my family because, well, that's the whole problem, isn't it? I'm 26 years old. I'm a dental surgeon. I finished my residency 8 months ago and I've been working at a practice in the city while building up my patient base for eventually starting my own clinic. I bought a condo 2 years ago. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. I have a home office where I do my continuing education, research, patient consultations over video, and administrative work. It's the room where I study cases, where I've cried after losing a patient to oral cancer, where I've celebrated successful reconstructive surgeries. That room is my sanctuary. My sister is 22. She works part-time at a boutique selling designer handbags. She lives with my parents. She's engaged to a guy she's been dating for 8 months, and apparently, she needs my home office to become her bridal preparation room for the next 6 months. When my mother called me last Sunday to discuss arrangements, I genuinely thought someone had died. Her voice had that serious tone she reserves for important family matters. Instead, she informed me that Priya, my sister, would be needing a dedicated space to plan her wedding, meet with vendors, store her wedding materials, do her dress fittings, and center herself spiritually before her big day. I asked why she couldn't use her own bedroom, or the guest room at my parents' house, or literally any other space that wasn't my working office. My mother laughed. Actually laughed. Rohan, don't be selfish. Priya needs a space that's hers. She can't focus at home with us around. Your office is perfect, it's quiet, it has good light, and you're barely there anyway since you work at the clinic. I'm barely there because I work 60-hour weeks reconstructing people's faces after accidents and cancer and birth defects. I'm barely there because when I am there, I'm studying to be better at my job so I can help more people. I'm barely there because I've spent my entire life trying to prove I'm worthy of something. Anything. I said no. The silence on the phone was deafening. My mother said, "We'll discuss this at dinner on Friday," and hung up. I spent the rest of the week with a knot in my stomach. I know how these discussions go. They're not discussions. They're interventions where my parents explain to me why I'm being unreasonable, and my sister cries, and somehow I end up apologizing for having boundaries. Here's the thing about my family that I've never been able to explain to anyone without sounding bitter or jealous. I am not good enough. I have never been good enough. I will never be good enough. I graduated top of my class in high school. My parents attended Priya's dance recital instead of my graduation ceremony because you'll have other graduations, but this is her moment. I got into dental school on a full scholarship after working 2 jobs during undergrad. When I called to tell them, my mother said, "That's nice, but your sister just got promoted to full-time at the boutique. She's doing so well." When I passed my board exams, my father forgot. Just forgot. He called me 3 days later to ask if I could help move Priya's furniture because she wanted to redecorate her room. When I bought my condo, my parents asked why I didn't just stay at home and save money like your sister does. When I finished my residency, 5 years of grueling work, sleepless nights, literal blood and tears, my mother's response was, "You look tired. Priya's been helping me garden, she's so thoughtful." I rebuild people's smiles for a living. I take faces that have been shattered by trauma and I put them back together. I give people the ability to eat again, to speak again, to look in the mirror without flinching. I have held the hands of cancer patients and told them we would fight together. And my family has never once made me feel like I was worthy of a smile of my own. My sister brings light wherever she goes. That's what my parents say. She walks into a room and everyone notices her. She's charming and pretty and she laughs easily and people gravitate toward her. She's not a bad person, I want to be clear about that. She's always been the one they saw. The one they chose. I don't know what I did wrong. I've spent 26 years trying to figure it out, and I still don't have an answer. Friday dinner was exactly what I expected. I walked into my parents' house and Priya was already crying at the kitchen table. My mother was rubbing her back. My father was standing by the window with his arms crossed, wearing his disappointed face, the one I've seen more times than I can count. "Rohan, sit down," my father said. I remained standing. "I'm not giving up my office." Priya's sobs intensified. "You don't even use it that much. I went by last week and your lights weren't even on." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "You went by my condo? When?" "Tuesday. I wanted to see if it would work for the wedding planning." "You drove to my home, unannounced, to check out my space without asking me? My mother waved her hand dismissively. She was excited, Rohan. Don't be dramatic. I have surgery preparation I do in that office. I have patient files. I have... You can do that at your clinic, my father interrupted. Or at the library. It's 6 months, Rohan. 6 months to give your sister the wedding preparation she deserves. Why do you have to make everything about you? I stood there, looking at the three of them, my mother comforting my crying sister, my father glaring at me like I'd committed some unforgivable sin, and I realized something. They weren't asking. They were telling me this was happening, and they fully expected me to fold like I always do. No, I said again. Priya looked up, mascara running down her cheeks. Why do you hate me? I don't hate you. I love you. But I'm not giving up my workspace for 6 months because you want a dedicated wedding room. It's because you're jealous, she said, her voice bitter. You've always been jealous because Mom and Dad actually like me. Because I'm not a robot who only cares about work. Because I have friends and a fiancé and a life, and you just have your stupid teeth. The words hit me harder than they should have. I'm a grown man. I'm a surgeon. I shouldn't crumble because my little sister called my life's work stupid teeth. But I felt something crack in my chest anyway. My mother didn't correct her. My father didn't say a word. I need to leave, I said. I walked out without looking back. I sat in my car for 20 minutes before I could drive, because my hands were shaking too badly to grip the steering wheel. That night, I sat in my office, my sanctuary, and I cried. I cried like I haven't cried since I was a child, since I learned that crying didn't make my parents notice me any more than achievements did. I don't know why I'm posting this. I don't know what I expect anyone to say. I just needed to tell someone that I'm a dental surgeon who spends his days reconstructing people's smiles, and my own family has never made me feel worthy of one. Edit. I woke up to hundreds of comments and messages. I can't respond to everyone, but thank you. I didn't expect anyone to care. I'll post an update when there's something to update. Update 1, 10 days later. I didn't expect my first post to resonate with so many people. Reading through the comments was difficult. A lot of you shared your own stories, and I'm sorry so many of us understand this particular kind of pain. Several people suggested I talk to a therapist, and others recommended I reach out to mentors or trusted colleagues. I want to tell you what happened. 2 days after the dinner, I was at the clinic preparing for a complicated maxillofacial reconstruction. The patient was a 34-year-old woman who'd been in a car accident 18 months ago. She'd had 3 previous surgeries, none of which had restored full function. She'd been living on liquid food, unable to smile, unable to kiss her children goodnight properly. This was going to be her 4th and hopefully final surgery. Dr. Krishnamurti, my mentor from dental school, was consulting on the case. He's in his 60s, semi-retired, one of the most respected reconstructive dental surgeons in the country. He taught me everything I know about seeing the person behind the procedure. After we reviewed the surgical plan, he looked at me and said, "You seem troubled, Rohan. Not about the surgery. You're prepared for that. Something else." I don't know why, but I told him everything. The dinner, my sister, the office, 26 years of feeling invisible. I told him about the crying and the shaking hands and the hollow feeling in my chest that hadn't gone away since Friday. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Do you know what scapegoating is?" he asked. I knew the word, but I'd never applied it to my own family. In dysfunctional family systems, he said, there's often a pattern where one child is designated the golden child and another is designated the scapegoat. The golden child can do no wrong. The scapegoat can do no right. It has nothing to do with the children's actual behaviors or achievements. It's about the parents' psychological needs. He told me about a book, Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, and suggested I read it. Then he gave me a name, Dr. Nalini Sharma, a therapist who specializes in family trauma and has helped several of his former students. "You've spent your career learning to heal others," he said. "It might be time to learn how to let someone help heal you." I called Dr. Sharma that afternoon. She had a cancellation the following week. My first session with Dr. Sharma was 2 hours long. She let me talk for most of it, about my childhood, about the constant feeling of not being enough, about how I'd channeled everything into achievement because I thought if I just accomplished enough, my parents would finally see me. Near the end, she asked me a question that broke something open. "Rohan, when you were a child, did you ever stop achieving? What happened?" I thought about it. There was a period in middle school when I gave up. My grades dropped, I stopped trying in sports, I spent most of my time in my room. I was 12. "What did your parents do?" she asked. They didn't notice, I said slowly. My mother mentioned once that I seemed moody, but that was it. When my grades came back up, nobody acknowledged it. When they dropped, nobody acknowledged that either. So you learned that your achievements weren't about getting their attention, Dr. Sharma said gently. They never were. You achieved because that's who you are. But somewhere along the way, you attached their validation to your self-worth, even though that validation was never coming. I sat with that for a long time. The office situation, she continued, is not really about an office. It's about whether you're finally going to stop abandoning yourself to keep the peace in a family that abandoned you emotionally a long time ago. I didn't respond to my parents' texts for a week. My mother sent increasingly frantic messages about wedding planning timelines and family unity. My father sent one text, "Don't ruin your sister's happiness." Finally, I sent a family group text. I've given this a lot of thought. My answer is no. My home office is essential to my career and my well-being. I'm happy to help with the wedding in other ways, financially contributing within reason, helping with logistics, attending events, but I will not be giving up my personal space. This decision is final and not open for further discussion. My mother called immediately. I didn't answer. My father texted, "You're being selfish and childish." Priya texted, "I can't believe you're doing this to me. What did I ever do to you?" I didn't respond to any of them. The following Sunday, they showed up at my condo. All three of them. My mother knocked while my father stood with his arms crossed and Priya cried in the hallway. I opened the door but didn't step aside to let them in. "Rohan, this is ridiculous," my mother said. "Let us in so we can talk like adults." I said everything I needed to say in my text. "You're being cruel," Priya sobbed. "All I wanted was one thing, and you can't even give me that. You have everything, your fancy degree, your job, your apartment, and I'm asking for a room for 6 months and you act like I'm asking for your kidney." I looked at my sister, really looked at her. She was crying, yes, but there was something else in her expression. Frustration. Confusion. Like a child who'd been told no for the first time and genuinely couldn't understand why. "Priya," I said, "you have a bedroom at home. Mom and Dad have a guest room. You could rent a space. You could use your fiancé's apartment. There are dozens of solutions that don't involve taking over my workspace." "But I want this," she said, stamping her foot like she used to when we were children. "It's perfect here, and you're never home anyway, and what I want doesn't matter," I finished for her. "Because it never has." My mother's face hardened. "That's unfair, Rohan." "Is it? When was the last time any of you asked about my work? My life? When was the last time you came to see me for any reason other than wanting something?" Silence. "I'm not going to keep having this conversation," I said. "I love you all, but my answer is no. Please respect that." I closed the door. I heard my mother say something sharp and angry, but I couldn't make out the words. Eventually, they left. I spent the rest of the day in my office, reading the book Dr. Krishnamurti had recommended. Update 2, 6 weeks later. Some of you have been asking for updates. There's been a lot. After I turned them away at my door, my parents tried several more tactics. My mother attempted guilt, "I don't know what we did to raise such a selfish son." My father attempted shame, "Everyone at temple is asking why there's tension in our family." And Priya attempted emotional manipulation, "If you really loved me, you'd do this one small thing." I responded to none of it. Dr. Sharma and I worked on something she calls holding the boundary without defending it, meaning I don't have to explain or justify my decision. It simply is what it is. The wedding planning continued without my office. Priya used the guest room at my parents' house. From what I heard through the family grapevine, my aunt, who's always been kinder to me than my parents, the bridal preparation room was fine. Normal. Nothing catastrophic happened because Priya had to plan her wedding in a perfectly adequate space that wasn't my home. I attended the engagement party. I kept my distance, stayed polite, and left after an appropriate amount of time. My parents barely spoke to me. Priya made a pointed comment about family members who don't support each other during her speech, and I felt 100 eyes slide toward me. I didn't react. I smiled, raised my glass, and left. The surgery on my maxillofacial patient, Sarah, went beautifully. 3 weeks post-op, she sent me a photo of herself smiling with her kids. Full, genuine smile. First one in 18 months. She was crying in the picture. So was I when I opened it. I printed it and hung it in my office. That's what my work is. That's what that room means to me. That's why I couldn't give it up. The wedding was last month. It was an event. I attended. I wore my best suit. I gave a generous check as a gift, more than I probably should have, but I didn't want money to be another weapon used against me. The ceremony was beautiful. My sister looked radiant. Her husband, Dev, seemed nice enough, quiet, a bit overshadowed by Priya's personality, but he looked at her like she was the center of his universe. At the reception, my mother made a speech about her beautiful, perfect daughter who brings light wherever she goes, and the supportive family who truly know what love means. She didn't mention me. Not once. My father gave a speech about tradition and family and sacrifice. Specifically, the sacrifices Priya had made to plan such a beautiful wedding while working and managing everyone's expectations. I sat at my table and ate my chicken. During the dancing, Priya came over to me. She'd had a few glasses of champagne. "I'm really glad you came," she said, and for a moment she sounded genuine. "I know things have been weird." "I'm happy for you," I said, and I meant it. "I hope you have a wonderful marriage." She looked at me for a long moment. Something flickered in her expression, something almost like uncertainty. "Rohan, do you actually like me? As a person?" The question caught me off guard. "Yes," I said. "I've always loved you, Priya. I just can't keep setting myself on fire to keep everyone else warm." She didn't seem to know what to do with that. Dev came to claim her for another dance, and she drifted away. I left shortly after. Update 3, final, 3 months after the wedding. I wasn't sure if I'd write another update, but given how many people have followed this situation, I felt like I owed some closure. And honestly, I need to process what's happened because it's not what any of us expected. My parents are still my parents. That hasn't changed. Our relationship is distant. We exchange brief texts, we see each other at necessary family events, but the warmth, if it was ever there, is gone. I've accepted that I can't change them. Dr. Sharma has helped me understand that grieving the parents I wish I had is part of healing from the parents I actually have. But Priya has been a surprise. About 6 weeks after the wedding, I heard through my aunt that Priya and Dev were having problems. Already. The honeymoon glow had worn off fast, and they were fighting constantly, about money, about household responsibilities, about how much time Dev spent at work versus with her. I felt sad but not surprised. I knew my sister had never learned to compromise, to share the spotlight, to consider anyone else's needs as equal to her own. That's not her fault. She was raised to be the center of everything. But marriage doesn't work when one person expects to be orbited. I didn't reach out. It wasn't my place, and frankly, I was still healing from the wedding fallout. Then, 3 weeks ago, I got a text from Priya. "Can we meet? Just us. I need to talk to you about something, and I can't do it at Mom and Dad's." I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop near my clinic. When she arrived, she looked different. Not just tired, though she was clearly exhausted, but there was something in her eyes that I hadn't seen before. A kind of rawness. She ordered tea. Her hands were shaking slightly. "Dev and I almost separated," she said without preamble. 3 weeks into our marriage. We had this huge fight about me wanting him to skip his brother's birthday party so we could go to a spa weekend I'd planned, and he just snapped. Said I was the most self-centered person he'd ever met. Said he didn't know how he'd missed it. She laughed bitterly. "And you know what's messed up?" My first thought wasn't, how do I fix this, or, maybe I was wrong. It was, how dare he not prioritize me? Like it never even occurred to me that his brother's birthday could matter more than my spa weekend. I listened without interrupting. We started couples therapy. The therapist is really good. She asked me to do individual sessions too, and I agreed because I thought she'd help Dev see how unreasonable he was being. Priya looked down at her tea. Instead, she helped me see something I never wanted to see. She asked me about my childhood, about our family, about you. My chest tightened. I told her about how I was always the favorite, the special one, the one everyone loved. I told her about how you were always working, always achieving, always trying to prove something. I told her about the office thing, about how ridiculous you'd been about a stupid room. She looked up at me, and there were tears in her eyes. She asked me something that broke my brain. What did Rohan actually do wrong? What concrete thing did he do to earn less love than you? She took a shaky breath. I couldn't answer. I sat there for like 5 minutes trying to think of something, and I couldn't. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just not me. And that was enough for Mom and Dad to treat you like you were less than. The tears were falling now. My therapist explained something called golden child syndrome. It's when parents create this dynamic where one kid can do no wrong and the other can do no right. She said it damages both kids, the scapegoat in obvious ways, but the golden child too. Because we grow up thinking we're special just for existing, that our needs automatically outrank everyone else's, that the world should revolve around us the way our family did. She wiped her eyes. I've been thinking about the office thing. About how I threw a tantrum because I couldn't have your space. About how Mom and Dad backed me up completely. About how not one of us stopped to ask why you needed that room, what it meant to you, what you actually used it for. Priya. No, let me finish. Please. I nodded. I've been thinking about your whole life. About how you got into dental school on a scholarship, and I didn't even know what that meant until Dev explained how hard that is. About how you became a surgeon, an actual surgeon who saves people's faces, and I work part-time selling handbags. About how you bought your own apartment at 24 and I've never paid rent in my life. And somehow I still walked around thinking I was the successful one because Mom and Dad acted like I was. She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Her fingers were cold and trembling. I'm so sorry, Rohan. I'm so sorry for all of it. For the things I said about your stupid teeth. For never asking about your work or your life. For assuming your boundaries were about punishing me instead of protecting yourself. For letting Mom and Dad treat you like you were less than nothing while I soaked up all the praise I never earned. I didn't know what to say. I'd spent years, decades, wondering if I was the crazy one, if I was overreacting, if my family's treatment of me was normal and I was just too sensitive. Hearing Priya acknowledge it, seeing her genuinely grapple with it, was something I'd genuinely given up on. There's something else, she said quietly. Something I've never told anyone. I waited. I always secretly admired you. I know that sounds ridiculous after everything I just said, but it's true. You did things, real things. You studied, you worked, you built a career. You earned everything you have. Me? I was just praised for existing. For being pretty and charming and making Mom and Dad feel good about themselves. Her voice cracked. I never had to try, so I never learned how. And somewhere deep down, I knew that was messed up. I knew you were actually accomplishing things while I was just floating through life on everyone else's approval. I was jealous of you. I think that's part of why I wanted your office so badly. It wasn't about the room, it was about taking something from you. Because taking from you was the only way I knew how to feel powerful. She broke down crying then. Real, ugly crying, not the performative tears I'd seen at family dinners. I moved to sit beside her. I put my arm around my little sister, something I hadn't done in years. I don't want to be this person anymore, she sobbed. I don't want to be someone who hurts people without even realizing it. I don't want to be Mom and Dad's perfect daughter if it means being a terrible person to everyone else. We talked for 3 hours that day. We talked about our childhood, about the moments that shaped us, about the way our parents' dynamic had warped both of our understandings of love and worth. Priya told me about her therapy sessions, about the work she was doing to understand her patterns. She told me that she and Dev were still together, barely, and that they were both committed to figuring out if they could build a real partnership instead of the princess and servant dynamic she'd unconsciously expected. I told her about my own therapy, about Dr. Sharma and Dr. Krishnamurti, about the revelation that I'd spent my life achieving not because I expected recognition but because that's simply who I am. We started meeting weekly after that. Sometimes for coffee, sometimes for walks, sometimes I cook dinner at my place and she comes over. She's asked to see my office. Not to claim it, not to take it over, just to understand what I do there. I showed her my setup, my books, my continuing education certificates. I showed her the photo of Sarah smiling with her kids. You change people's lives, Priya said quietly. Like, actually change them. I try to. I want to do something like that. Not surgery, obviously, I'd pass out. But something real. Something that matters. She started taking online courses in interior design. She wants to eventually work with people who are rebuilding their homes after disasters, fires, floods, that kind of thing. She says she wants to help people create spaces that feel safe, the way my office feels safe to me. I don't know if she'll follow through. Old habits are hard to break, and her programming runs deep. But she's trying. Genuinely trying. My parents have noticed the shift. My mother called last week, confused and upset that Priya hadn't called her in 3 days and had apparently told her to respect my boundaries about wedding anniversary plans. What did you do to your sister? My mother demanded. She's been different ever since she started talking to you. I thought about how to respond. I didn't do anything to her, I said. I just treated her like an adult capable of growth. You might try it sometime. I hung up before she could respond. I don't know what the future holds with my family. My parents may never change. They may go to their graves believing I'm the ungrateful, selfish son who ruined family harmony by refusing to give up his office. But Priya is changing. Slowly, imperfectly, but genuinely. And for the first time in my life, I have a family member who sees me. Who asks about my work not because she wants something, but because she's genuinely curious. Who texts me photos of her design homework and asks for feedback. Who sends me articles about dental innovations and says, "Thought of you." Last week, after a particularly hard surgery, a teenager who'd lost most of his jaw to bone cancer, I called Priya instead of sitting alone in my office. I told her about the surgery, about the hours of painstaking reconstruction, about the moment I realized we'd done it, we'd rebuilt him, he was going to have a life. She listened to all of it. And then she said something that made me cry. "I'm so proud of you, Rohan. Not because of what you accomplish, but because of who you are. You're a good person. I'm sorry it took me 22 years to tell you that. I spent my career reconstructing smiles for other people. Now, finally, I have a family member who makes me feel worthy of one myself." Edit. Thank you all for following this journey. To those of you in similar situations, there is hope. Not necessarily that your family will change, but that you can find healing regardless. That you can stop abandoning yourself. That you can rebuild your own foundation even if the people who should have built it for you failed. Dr. Krishnamurti told me something on my first day of residency that I've never forgotten. We cannot choose the damage we inherit. We can only choose how we heal from it. Choose healing. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Dr. Rohan.